Started streaming with the wrong thing on. Oops. Well, let's see how bad that is. Oh, I guess I got in on the buffer period. That's nice. Okay, so let's go ahead and get the Twitter out of the way. Make sure that I got all the bots and dashboard stuff ready to go. Let's go ahead and come back over to here. Let's go to Discord real quick and post. And we should be good. And I'm going to unmute just to make sure that I have everything working. Post. Okay. And we should. All right. So, hello everyone. This is Chris Ingerson, and it is what day is it? It's November 27th, and this is the November 27th TextQuest Devstream. So, today we are going to be focusing on optimizations to start. Specifically, we are going to be looking at a massive lag spike that we get whenever I start playing the plains level. And there is a similar lag spike when I transition the to the cabin. So I would like to know why exactly that is happening. So to start, I'm going to go ahead and open up my profiler, which I'm going to put on my left monitor. So you all will not be able to really see it, but I will drag it over once we get some profiling data. So let's go ahead and maximize on play too, just to get that working. So if this goes as it has the last couple of times that I ran it before the dev stream, I should spawn in. So I'm moving the mouse right now and I can't move. So we have this huge lag spike. You can kind of see the word planes fading in on the bottom left there, which means that we are playing and it is frozen very briefly. All right. So this is what happened. There was a pretty sizable lag spike right away. And then I think this lag spike that we have here is from me hitting pause, which is unforgivable. Why on earth would hitting pause do that? It could be that it's instantiating a bunch of stuff, and that's the first time I hit pause, so a bunch of stuff might have moved in at that given moment, but that's still not ideal now, is it? Let's take a look at the very front here. What are we looking at? Not really a lot on the CPU side. How much garbage did we generate? Wow! 3.4 megabytes of garbage all at once, huh? Where is that coming from? Whew. Just on that one frame, though. Okay, this is interesting. Let's see. Let's try moving to here. I mean, that could just have something to do with being on the first frame. It's just insanity that we go straight up to 4 megabytes. Well, let's see. The next frame we have the closest thing we would have to a spike. But we're not really seeing much of anything. Let's see. We have editor overhead, of course, which is to be expected. We have fixed update function. That's interesting. On what? We have a trigger stay event being fired? Event trigger dot on trigger stay. Okay. Let's find out about that. Let's see. I have one trigger here. Let's go to music trigger, which itself I believe is derived from TextQuest trigger, which might actually be derived from event trigger. Yep, okay. Well, let's go ahead and just dig our way down to start. Make sure that I'm not doing anything in particular. I don't know if I really need on trigger enter or on trigger stay there, but it could be that, well, so I use on trigger stay in very specific situations, but if we're generating 0.6 kilobytes of garbage per frame for that, I don't think that that's worth it. So exited. We have a wait for music coroutine. That's not really doing anything. That's fine. Okay. How about we go down, go to definition, triggered, on trigger entered, on trigger stayed. Oh, right, which is actually not the real thing. But let's see. So on trigger entered, on trigger exited, and on trigger stayed are my override functions for the base event trigger, which actually does have the proper on trigger enter. Or wait, no, wait. There it is. On trigger enter, on trigger exit, and on trigger stay. Um, so we're looking through our tag masks. If it contains this, then we are going to call on trigger stayed. Perhaps. Perhaps it would be better to not pass that information in. Oh yeah, that's definitely why. It's passing in collider information. So it's constantly evoking that, which is probably this right here, the event trigger, which is probably why this is happening. Okay, so that's a nice optimization we can make. So let's go ahead and stop playing real quick. Um, so how do we want to handle this? Yes, I see you can. So the problem I'm pretty sure is not the on trigger stay function itself, although it could be. It I'm thinking is probably more in line with this function getting called, which I'm not sure if that's really for the best. Let's go ahead and say that we will. I'm just going to go ahead and comment out the contents of on trigger stay, and then we're going to see if we still get that garbage. If we don't get the garbage with the stuff commented out, then that means that it is the events. It's not the function itself. If we do still get the garbage, then it is a function problem, which means that I have to reevaluate how I want to do this. Um, Hello, Awkward Cyclops. Welcome back. And hello, Garrett. I was going to say your full name for some reason. Sorry, Garrett. I got into reading names mode. Uh, Welcome back. How are you doing tonight? Both of you. All right. Let's go ahead and come down here. So that's recompiled. Let's go ahead and I'm going to clear my profiler. Let's hit play again. I'm going to look for that garbage. See if it's still there. I'm kind of hoping that it's not, but yeah. I've never actually evaluated, like I've never profiled the built-in trigger functions. So, okay. So let's take a look. We're doing much better there on the CPU side. Didn't have anything that really broke us. Okay. Yep, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. Okay, so it's the event. Let's go ahead and I'm going to move this back. Let's go ahead and reopen the script. I'm going to move this back to here. We're going to go to onTrigger stayed, and I'm just going to comment out these. Now, if I don't generate any more garbage, which hopefully will be the case, all I will probably have to do is just add like a couple of checkboxes to these types of triggers to see, or to basically let me control whether or not on trigger stayed, on trigger exited, and on trigger entered, blah blah blah, if all that gets called. If actually, even if it does generate garbage, what I could probably do is just comment out the on trigger stayed function here, see if that does it. And if at that point it's not generating garbage, then we'll just put the if statement here. Pretty simple. I'm hoping that would be the case. If not, it means that I'm gonna have to do it like in the on trigger exit, on trigger enter, and all that stuff. And that's not terrible, you know. But it is a less convenient solution, just because I don't like having giant if wrappers like that. Okay. Why did I not clear it? I guess I don't have to. I think it restarts when I start playing. It's mostly interesting because I do think that. Let's see here. Yep, we got 6 kilobytes again. It's probably, I have to assume, from this. Oh, wait, no, it might be col.tag. Ooh. Ooh. I bet it is that, actually. Hmm. Okay, then I will have to wrap this, I suppose. Okay. Cool. So let's go ahead and uncomment this. I am going to go ahead and go up to here. Let's go to tag masks, find all references. Pretty sure that nothing outside of this script is using it. Cool. I'm going to go ahead and make this conform to my actual uh, new coding standards. And also, yes, my little avatar does talk whenever I talk. So if I stop talking, he will eventually shut his mouth. There is a little bit of I think it's a 1 second, maybe 2 second delay, just so that it doesn't terminate mid sentence. Because sometimes there are periods where I like pause to take a breath, or I am making a lowish level sound, or like my voice dips for a bit, and if I didn't have that delay, then it would just stop talking every time I did that. So it talks a little bit longer than I actually do, but it works. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and say serialized field. We'll make that a tag. We're gonna make this protected. Might as well. And I suppose I could optimize this even more aggressively by making it an array of strings. Just because let's see, this is in sleepyowl.common. Yeah, I'm 90% sure that I have a function in there that's just like, let me try this real quick. It has a contains ignore case, but not a contains, which is hilarious. So I might write an extension function actually for this that will let me loop through an array instead of having to have a list. Lists are slightly less efficient than arrays, although at this point it's probably not really much of a concern, but I might as well. Yeah, I actually really do need to get set aside a day or two to work on my avatar again. Oh, which speaking of, we're gonna be doing coding stuff today. Just because I want to add things like Twitch integration so that you guys can have him do stuff, but it's a hard investment to make, admittedly, because it's time that I'm not working on my game. All right, so let's go up to here, and I could make it a bit mask, but it might be better to have it be a set of bools, I guess. Sure. Bools are easier, and it'll be, excuse me, much faster anyway. All right, so let's go ahead and serialize field, protected, bool. Now the question is, what do I want to allow it? No, I was going to say allow entry, and that's not great. But yeah, stuff like that. Basically allowing commands in my bot to go out to my application, and then my application would behave accordingly. So he could do fun stuff like jumping or waving. Or eating random food, which would probably be wall chicken, in the grand tradition of video games. Okay, so I guess I would say, like, support enter? Like, allow enter is equal to false. That's just so bad. I could just call it enter, I suppose, like that. Hold on. Let's go to tooltips. Let's go ahead and copy this. We're going to call this exit and stay starry. So we'll say allow the trigger to detect objects entering it. And I suppose I should have just copy pasted that as well, honestly. Objects exiting it and staying in All right. Then we're going to go down here and we're going to wrap everything. So let's go ahead and say if stay. Come back down here. We're going to say if exit. And then if enter. And actually, by default, I'm going to go ahead and set enter to be true, because that's probably going to be the case for most of them. But all right, that should, I think, let us work. Should I make these protected overridable? Nah, that's the point of these. So let's go ahead and just let that compile. And that should fix our 6 kilobytes of garbage per frame problem, which is nice. Although it's not really a problem so much as it is an oversight. Oh, I guess it's not 6 kilobytes, it's 0.6 kilobytes, which is, 600 bytes, but per frame, that adds up. So, well, while we're waiting for this to compile, is anyone going to do the train jam stuff this year? I managed to finally snag a seat at the time that they were selling tickets. So I've gone the past 2 years. This would be my third, but the past 2 years I've gotten lucky in getting a ticket because I first year I didn't even know about it, and the second year I completely forgot about it until like an hour after the tickets went on sale, and then they were just gone. But or actually I guess it wasn't an hour, it was like 2 or 3. But anyway, the point is that this is the first year that I actually stayed on top of it and managed to get a ticket right out of the gate, which is nice. Although it is a little bit more expensive, because I think usually if you can get them a little bit afterwards, then people are selling them off at a slight loss. But it's better to guarantee that I have one. Oh yeah, no, definitely. I need to bring water on the train jam. Last year I brought a 6-pack of water and I drank most of it in the first 2 days, and that was a mistake. Mistake. I needed to save that water for the last day because they always run out, or at the very least they have in all 2 years that I've gone. Also, hello Cache Override. Welcome back. How you doing tonight? All right, let's go ahead and clear this. I'm going to clear this. And we're going to take a look at our profiler again, see if we can nail down some more garbage. And also, if we can figure out why... Oh, you know what it is? I bet that the initial lag that we see is something that will only show up whenever I open the project for the first time. Because I think it is I think it's things like the settings all getting parsed out, which is potentially problematic, but we'll see. Let's see. So, oh, I thought I saw 0.1%. I'm like, what? It's like, oh wait, no, that's just there's no garbage. Although it is still eating some processing because it has to. I suppose it's fine. It's a minor oversight. I don't quite need to get blood from a stone from this, so we'll go ahead and let that go. Collapsed physics update, 0 garbage generated. All right. Ooh, what is this? Send mouse events. Oh, this is a rabbit hole that I've looked at before and I don't know. I do not know how to find this one specifically because it's part of the weird mouse event stuff, which is buried. Cool. So actually not a lot of garbage being generated, which is nice. Let's see. Is there a spike? There is still a spike, but I can't see what it is because it happens before actual CPU profiling happens, which makes it much more difficult. Maybe that's just the overhead from the editor. Because otherwise we're actually doing pretty well. We get about 15 garbage. Ooh, 444 kilobytes right before right before our spike here. Oh, also, I'm doing pretty well overall, I'd say, Cache Override. think I been a little, or we've been gearing up at work to take on some interesting new projects, and some of that's good, some of that's bad. It's been a bit of a bit of a thing on my mental state, uh, but overall I'm fine. Okay, so let's see here. We have a massive lag spike here, 0.09 milliseconds. Wait, how on? That can't be right. Wait, no, really? How? How does all of this add up to dipping below 30 frames? We have 0.09 milliseconds and then 0.03 milliseconds. Everything else is zero. How do we get a spike? I don't understand. Um, hmm. Well, maybe these aren't accurate because it looks like we're getting actually some pretty big things here. Menu controls dot update. Wow. Really? We get an instantiate, which that makes sense because it's the actual menu being instantiated. Okay, so actually maybe, here, let's do this. I'm going to go ahead and clear this again. I'm going to attempt to run through. I'm going to pause in-game and then unpause, and then I'm going to pause again, and then I'm going to unpause, and then I'm going to stop playing. And I'm going to compare what those look like based on if the object was instantiated for the first time or if it was instantiated for the second time. All right. So we have our block here. Okay, now here we're getting something. Almost 2 whole milliseconds here. But that is noticeably, so here's the open, here's the close, here's the open, and I don't even know where the close is over here. They're like no closing. Interesting. So here's the open again, which does still dip us below 30 frames. And that is because of physics? What? Why is physics doing that to us? Huh. It's also interesting because the second time there's like a little weird dip in garbage being generated, which is just strange. Okay. Well, let's look at the big stuff. It looks like it is instantiate. Let's look at the secondary stuff. We don't really have much time overall being made. Let's see. We have fixed update, input manager, editor. What? Editor compilation interface that is compiling. That sounds like an editor specific one, so I can't really do that. Don't dip in garbage. Are you sure? It's such a relaxing temperature, such a wonderful time in there. Let's see. Send mass events. Nope, lost cause there. Dynamic frame rate, GUI repaint. Those are all lost causes. Late update. TMP field, which is not something I can really fix. Let's see. Player update canvases. That's also something I can't fix. That's just part of the UI. Huh. So it looks like most of the garbage that I have right now is just generated from Input Manager and Canvas, which is, great. So I can't really fix that, but that's good because it means it's not really my fault. Let's go ahead and close these. But what about the physics? Like, why is there such a huge time here? Like, just in terms of milliseconds. Physics not processing. Physics scene collision? Hmm. Okay. So, yeah, that's all internal physics stuff, which I can't do. I was going to be really mad if there's any sort of cloth pre-processing. Let's see. So all this processing seems to come from... Why would it do this when I hit pause? turn off physics. I just set timescale to 0. Is that enough to cause physics to freak out? Well, it's not ideal. Total time there is, well, it's for the physics specifically. Okay. So if I toggle this off, does it hide it from the bottom? It does not. Interesting. I'm not really sure what I can do there, but that does seem to be the biggest uptake there. Now about this 3-second millisecond. So there's our physics update, which we don't actually care about because I can't do anything about it, I'm pretty sure. Let's see, update, behavior update, event system, that's not something I can address. Input manager, also not something I can address. You have some physics, but that's not really doing much, so it's not really something I can fix there. Moral of this story seems to be that some of my overhead just seems to be from internal systems, and I can't really do anything about that, but that's dumb. Okay. Well, I am going to do a quick test. I'm going to close my my editor, and then I'm going to reopen it, and I'm going to see if I get the lag spike back that I had at the very beginning, because I'm kind of thinking that things like settings and all of that will load correctly on the first time you play, and then they're static, so they stay. I have hiccups. I'm sorry. So they stay basically in memory. It's not a problem at that point, and that's why we wouldn't see. That's why we see the lag spike the first time we play, but not the second time, or really subsequent times. I'm curious to know if I can get rid of this. If I can't, it's not really much of a problem because it's something that will happen at the very beginning of the game when it's unlikely that players will notice and or care, because that would happen on the splash screen, actually, when it's just pitch black and people couldn't tell. But then again, the fact that it takes so long, the fact that it's like a good 3 to 5 second long lag spike is not okay. Is this optimized code? Partially and partially not. It is possible that my JSON utility code is pretty awful. I would actually not be surprised by that at all. And we'll have to see. I've been messing with the JSON utility, the built-in one that Unity has at work, and it might be worthwhile for me to kind of shift over to that instead of using my own system, because my own system functions. But the downside to that is that it would break all of my save files, so, not really wanting to do that. All right, let's take a look at this. So if my suspicions are correct, we'll hit the lag spike again now. Yep, we hit it. So let's hunt it down once I can move again. Eventually. All right. It's super interesting that it doesn't like show up here. It has to be because it's on the very first frame and the profiler must take one frame to like properly set itself up. That's madness. That also does explain the spike though. It explains why we go from, 4 megabytes of garbage to 6. Still though, that's not ideal. Let's see. I would assume that a lot of the lag spikes on this very first frame are probably from things like the physics system initializing and all that fun stuff. See, I don't think it's the profiler because that spike happens regardless of if the profiler is up and running. The profiler is probably contributing to things like editor overhead that you see here, which isn't a small thing, but it's not the main. It's not the cause. That's a separate factor that I have to consider when I'm doing profiling, because obviously the editor is never going to be as efficient as an actual build. Um, but I should be able to not have lag spikes like that. Um, and I would like to know what is happening there specifically to cause them. But the problem is that the frame that it happens on is the very first frame, and I think that that's a point where the profiler just won't detect it because obviously you can see here the second like the spikes that we see here are kind of expected, but they're all within 60 FPS, and clearly that first spike is not a 60 FPS spike because any amount of spikes is not a 60 FPS spike. So I'm not sure what I can really do here if I can't profile it. I can't find out what it is. I have my suspicions about what it is, and I suppose the way that I could check that would be to let's look for this. Um, Actually, the best way for me to do that would probably just be go up to here. Let's go to Game Manager. We're gonna go to Settings. All right, let's go ahead and open this up. So on settings on start, we'll try to load everything that it has. Am I still doing get pool? I thought I got rid of you. Okay, we'll have to look at that. Let's see. We're looking at load. It's going to be all the way down here at the bottom. Start. We're going to say load and start. So I'm going to just, for the sake of testing this, we're just going to do this. Okay. I know that's going to mess with me, but it'll be fine. And, oh crap, I'm going to have to close and reopen to really do anything with that. Okay, here we go. Oh wait, actually no, I won't. I won't have to close and reopen because I just caused a script recompilation, which should produce the same effect. Because the thing about static values is that they go away after you do a script recompilation. So once that's done, while that's happening, I'm going to take a drink. And I still have time while we wait forever because my project has become bloated. I really do need to re-examine some of that compilation time. All right, so let's go ahead and I'm gonna hit play, and we should still see. Well, see that's the thing. I don't want to take a chance because it's possible that I won't get the lag spike, and I'll think that it's because of the start stuff there. So I have to close it. Well, we'll see. If I get the lag spike, then I didn't fix it. If I didn't get the lag spike, I'll close it and then reopen it. And then we'll see if I do get the lag spike again. If I don't that time, then it is because it was the settings stuff. We'll find out. Okay, so we didn't get a lag spike there, but I do have to close to just be sure. Who knew a text adventure could be so performance heavy? It's really not, to be fair. It's just that there are some bits of my code that predate me being decent at coding, and instead they were coded way back when I was terrible, or rather when I was more terrible than I am now. So I just it's hard for me to remember exactly what is what could be causing these things because it could be any number of things that I did when I was stupid and young and foolish, and I wouldn't know that because I just don't remember them. Um, it really is a problem, though. I'm hoping that I remember enough of my code base that I can just hunt down any areas that I would think would be bad, and that's mostly just going to be old code, honestly. Like any area that has heavy involvement with code that I wrote eons ago, I'm just going to be like, it's probably that, just because I didn't have as much of a focus on performance when I was coding back then. And also my project was smaller, and I was using much more simplistic rendering techniques. Because it was that. I mean, I started this way back before physically based rendering. Because I started this back in 3.5. Oh man, this project has been So many versions of Unity. Um, that's the problem. I just have the overhead of Unity, and that's just slowing me down. Okay, let's try this again. Should get so if we don't get the lag spike, then it's because of the settings stuff. If we do, then it was not that. Okay, it was not that. So I don't know. Honestly, that was my kind of like hope that it was that, but it was not. So crap. Oh, wait. This time we did get a spike. Where did you come from? We didn't have that spike before. Well, maybe we did. And it's just... Let's see. Ooh, 200 some bytes. Oh, nope. Screw you. Oh, FPS controller. We got something there. Okay, no, not much help there. Well, that's not really helpful. Although we're constantly allocating a byte, or 80 bytes there, which is interesting. Sync rigid body transform. Controller collider hit. Where are you coming from? It's from here, which has to be... This FPS controller is a terribly old script. It's not even one that I wrote. It was a third-party asset from the asset store way back that was basically a terrible version of what Unity has as an FPS controller now. But that's 80 bytes. I'm kind of curious to see what that could be. So let's take a look at that. It's FPS controller right here. Wow. Screw you too. There we go. Let's see. That's FPS controller update TS. Cool. Let's see what this is doing. Revert back to Unity 0. I don't even know what it was when it first started out. From what I understand, it was like a shader previewer. Like, at least that's what I heard. I don't know. Before it was a proper engine, it was like a weird little experimental thing from what I understand. Anyway, let's look for update, which is not at all going to be a massive function. That's doing way too much, probably. Let's go all the way down here. Fixed update and update. Here we are. Let's see. Movement.can crouch, input crouch, and start coroutine. Ooh, we have a start coroutine, but that shouldn't be doing it. Physics.raycast non-alloc. That seems about right. Not use fixed update. Well, let's find out. Am I set to use fixed update? I'm not set to use fixed update, so let's go to the update function. Go to definition. Timescale is equal to 0. We don't care. No clip movement. Velocity. Migrate to Unreal. Why stop at CryEngine? I should just port everything to Lumberyard. You know, why would I pay to use an engine when I could just get it for free? Let's see. Yeah, this could be pretty much anything. I don't want to hunt this down right now. Yeah, I really don't want to do this. So I'm not gonna look through that right now just because it's not a script that I wrote, and therefore it would take me quite a while to hunt down a problem, probably. God. WebGL. No, never. My game would not work in WebGL. The resolution for the textures would be so small. Or actually, you know what? It might work fine because I use Substance, which would mean that it would generate that stuff at runtime. Although that would still probably run into a memory problem, but it wouldn't be that bad, I don't think. But anyway, make it a Doom mod. Oh, jeez, you're all giving me such wonderful ideas. All right, let's go ahead and close these scripts because I don't really need them. Okay, so let's go back here. Let's take a look through here. I'm not really going to be able to get much out of that, I don't think. The lag spike happens when I can't record it, so I don't know what's happening. My assumption is that it has something to do with the first frame, which makes me think. Well, actually, no. I don't think it is the first frame, because if it was the very first frame, well, no, I guess those spikes do happen on the first frame. I don't know. I just don't know. All right, so that update honestly could be anything. Yeah, I should port everything over to Inform. There we go. The original text-based adventure language. All right, let's go. So that's a little annoying, but it is not the end of the world. So let's go ahead and real quick before I forget, because I certainly will, I need to make sure that this is set to exit because I want it to be of exit type. Oh, look at that. I am using that for this. Ah! That's not great. Huh. Well, what are you going to do? That's fine. So that is that. What about you guys? You are not an event trigger, so we don't care about you. And you are not an event trigger either, so we don't care about you. Cool. That's fun. Although actually, scene transition. Eh? Oh, there's a player tag. I was gonna say I didn't see a player tag because I didn't put it in the same place as the other ones. Usually I put the player tag at the top. I did not that time. All right, so we fixed that. And we don't know what that lag spike is, but I can show you another lag spike, which is the lag spike that happens when I transition to the cabin, because that is a nasty one for some weird reason. All right. So let's play. All right, and it's not like anything in the scene is bad. You'll notice that pretty consistently I'm getting 60 frames per second. Although it does kind of feel like I'm stuttering a little bit occasionally. And this clearly needs to have its light map rebaked. Oof. Actually, all of these probably need to. Oh, I probably just need to tweak my post-processing settings because you can see that it's like fine if you're in the light and it is pitch black if you're in the dark, which is not useful. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and climb in here. And we get a bit of a spike here when we transition to this level. Actually, it looks like we have a couple of spikes on the profiler. But here's where it's happening. You can see that we have just freezing. Like nothing's happening right now. All right. So, wow. That is ridiculous. Why is it listed as 0? If it's massive, do you think that it just cuts off the left ones? No, that can't be right because we get like dynamic ones here. So, but like clearly that's not 0. It's big. Whatever that is, it's garbage. So we have two. We actually have two spikes here. We have like a smaller one at the front, and then we have a larger one second. Well, let's take a look at this one. We have the largest culprit is here, 200 some seconds, or milliseconds. Planes to cabin loading. What? How on earth? Oh, it's the instantiate part, which that kind of makes sense. But I don't know about that. TechMesh Pro certainly plays a factor in it. Oof, that is rough. TechMesh Pro actually might be the bulk of the cost there. So that could be the effect labels that we have showing up there that we're like showing the little words during the animation. Okay, but what about here then? This should be well after that. Oh my goodness. Huh, that is a 13,352 millisecond spike. That is a 13-second spike, which is a bit bad, some might say. Let's see. Surprisingly low garbage, though. Why is this happening? Why is culling? Oh my, it's the volumetric camera. Well, that's interesting now, isn't it? Wow, it's like all just there. Just listed on pre-cull. Perhaps I should update that, see if that fixes it. Probably wouldn't hurt. I'm not really using it effectively, I feel. The HX volumetric camera is a third-party asset that I use that has really, really nice lighting effects. And I need it for the cabin in particular because I wanted to have that old, like, dusty cabin look. But I haven't set aside, or like, I really haven't made it work properly yet, I don't think. I got it to kind of show up, but it's not to my satisfaction yet. So, like, it can't be this because this is off. It is straight up disabled. Which, let's go to the, let's see, main camera. No. But that is on this main camera, I believe. Oh, it's not. How curious. Then where are you? HX volumetric camera. Maybe that's on. Hold on. Let's go up to here. Cameras. HX volumetric camera. That kind of makes sense then. Let's go ahead and stop playing. I'm going to jump over to the cabin level real quick. See if I can find it. Oh, shoot. I also need to put that back to the way it was. And before I hit save, I'm going to jump over to the cabin. Cabin. All right. So, a couple of things. First things first, let's go ahead and come over to here. Second, I think we're actually going to need to set up some post-processing effects. Let's see. Do I already have something in here for... Oh, it's compiling. I was like, why is it frozen? So that's interesting. Huh. HX volumetric camera has a 13-second pre-cull. Ridiculous. Let's see. What was I looking for? Post-processing. Okay. So I'm pretty sure that I don't have that then. So oh, no, it wasn't that. It was Light Dark Manager was one. Which is not a thing. Cool. Let's go ahead and do that. Let's go down here to... So good. None of that shows up. Because why would it? Canyon. There should be a post-processing layer somewhere around here with that name. There we are. Overworld, we have our cabin. I suppose I should also just do a quick T. So, T, Light, Dark, Manager. Cool. We just got the one. That's good. So we have our darkness profile. Oh, that's the volume, right. Let's go ahead and come down here. Post-processing. say, what do I want this to be called? I guess we'll say light. Go ahead and make this a processing volume. That's not right. There we go, post-process volume, which of course has, this is our light, so we'll say darkness lit. Let's go ahead and duplicate this. We'll have this just be darkness. And then we are going to, let's see, what else? We need the global one, which I guess I'll put here. It's global. This is going to be our global cabin. All right. As far as these go, one, I need to put them in the actual layer, so post-processing layer, yes, change children. But two, I don't remember if I guess they need to be global, and then their weight is 0, I believe, and then I just fade that in. All right, so let's go ahead and save that. That makes the scene a little darker, but we can fine-tune that a little bit later. All right, then the other thing that I wanted to do is, one, real quick, let's go ahead and go to Window, Set Store. I'm going to go ahead and see if there is an update for the HX volume stuff. If there is not, then I will just disable those scripts. I'll take them off. Okay. It's probably just faster for me to do this. Wow, really? One, this is really hard to do. Ah! There we go. Let's see. Oh, there we go. Okay, I guess I should update this. And let's see here. Yeah, sure. Let's go ahead and do that. So let's go ahead and import all of this, see if that updates it. Yeah, I mean, it's a really cool asset. I do like what it does. I feel like I kind of brought it in and I haven't really used it to its full potential yet. I've just kind of been putzing around with it, I feel. So let's see if this fixes it, because I can't imagine that Lexi, knowing what I do know about him, he would be happy with a 13-second lag spike. So I'm assuming that it was just a weird thing because the asset that I had was maybe a little bit outdated and didn't work with this version of Unity. Of course, it's also possible that what I just updated to will break everything. But all right. Well, that's importing. Yeah, I saw his Twitter posts about his light map, or I guess not light map, but it's a GI thing. It was really cool. He seems to really enjoy the light stuff, which makes sense. Like his tools are really impressive. They'd be better if I could use them properly, but but that's obviously a personal thing. But oh, speaking of assets, did anyone get anything on the Unity Asset Store during the Black Friday sale that they had going on? It was like some week-long sale where they changed up the assets every day that were on sale. Or rather, they had an asset that was like spiked up to 70% off every day, which was pretty cool. I didn't actually get anything, but there were some nice things on there. All right, let's see. We have some shader warnings. Wow, I'm surprised that he's still getting that. I would have thought there must be some reason for that. Okay, so it's compiling still. We don't have any errors, at least, which is, generally a good thing. Go ahead and clear those. So I'm just going to go ahead. Hiccups. I'm going to try playing directly in the scene and see if we get a huge lag spike. Oh, is it still going on? I guess that I did see some sale stuff going on there. I didn't realize it was still going on. Yeah, there was some like GPU based light map solution that seemed pretty cool called like Bake Factory or Baker or something like that, or Bakery, whatever. And it seems to be a GPU alternative solution to to Enlighten and Unity's progressive light mapper. I was debating getting it, but I don't really need a GPU light mapper. Why am I doing that? All right, let's go ahead and play. It just seemed like it would be nice to have a light mapping solution that would just like basically use my GPU, which is clearly the best part of my computer, and just bake out light maps much faster at the same quality. Oh, well, this is the initial lag that was coming from something else, so we don't have to worry about that. Um, I mean, I do, but it's not important for the purposes of this. Uh, oh boy, maybe it is. Well, nope. That seems okay. Nice, and our. So I'm gonna go ahead and jump back out to the plains level. We're gonna try to do a transition back into the cabin, and we're gonna see if it still has the issue. Let's see. Plains Bakery. There we go. Yeah, that's what it was called. Play. Yeah, it's honestly really hard to tell what Unity is going to just like buy from the asset store, just like incorporate directly into Unity. Because sometimes it seems like it's obvious. For example, things like TextMesh Pro, that's an obvious one. Because pretty much everyone who could afford the $50 buy-in for it was like, yeah, it's totally worth it. And it makes sense there. Yeah, not a bit of a lag spike there. Let's try this again. All right. What do we got? We still have a bit of a spike. Oh my, that might not have fixed it. It might just be a reality of, is it though? Yep, yep, it's still there. So cool. We're gonna shut that off. I have to have that configured wrong. Like there is zero realities that I can think of where this is okay. Like so HX volumetric camera, Sunbleed. Yeah, I just no. Go ahead and turn this stuff off. Like both of these. Okay, let's go back out. Let's see if now when we transition, it's not terrible. If I have to, I guess I can remove those components. But yeah, sometimes it seems like certain assets that you would expect Unity to just outright offer, um, they don't really do anything with. Things like Gaia, which are kind of like is kind of the de facto terrain solution right now in terms of assets, but Unity hasn't really done anything with them. Instead, they're focusing on their own internal solutions. Yep, there we go. Yeah, it was that. We still did get a lag spike, but now it's only 200 milliseconds, which is still less than a second, and that is much, 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 much better. So let's go ahead and stop playing. Oop, hold on, there we are. So yeah, we now only have 200 milliseconds, which I'm assuming is largely from, yeah, the actual loading of the level, which I've never really been able to optimize. I still get lag spikes, and I feel like that's because the only way not to get lag spikes is not to have, is pretty much not to have anything in your level. Um, like basically, I think the solution that they want you to do to have perfectly smooth level transitions is to have a pretty much an empty scene that you just dynamically load objects into over time instead of having them already be in the scene, and that's really dumb. Just really dumb. I believe that that is the case, and that's probably the correct way to do it, but it's really dumb that that's the way that it has to be done. But then again, I haven't actually tested that, so I could be wrong. I just assume that that's the case. Anyway, I have heard of Terrain Composer, and Gaia is the biggest one and has the most features from what I understand. I don't think I've heard of Map Magic. All right, let's go ahead and move this back. So we're getting better. Let's see. So that fixes our cabin problem, but it doesn't fix our initial problem. I really wish I knew what that was. Um, None are what I'd call easy. Well, easy is a term that really needs qualifying. Like it's easier by virtue of it not being the hardest to use. Okay. So I'm not really sure how to how to track down our problems here. I am going to go ahead and real quick in the spirit of optimizations. Actually, you know what? It might be good for us to test something real quick because I'm curious. Um, so I'm going to jump into a test scene. Let's see. Probably just close all this, honestly. Don't really need you open. Let's close all of you. Let's close all of this fun stuff. And all of this. And all of that. Alright, so I'm going to come over here to test. I'm going to go ahead and create a new folder. I'm going to call this... did I accidentally hit enter? No, I did not. Good. So I'm going to call this scene loading. And just to have like a basic test case, I want to try and load two very different I want to load two scenes using two different methodologies. One is going to be, they're basically going to be the same scene, just with different methods of loading. So one will have, several complex objects with awake behaviors and whatnot. And the other one will also have that, but they will be loaded in over time as opposed to all at once. I'm curious to see if we can avoid the lag spike that way. And now keep in mind, I'm not going to be cartoonish. I'm not going to have like 10,000 different things. But instead, I'm just curious to know if... Actually, no, we'll try it without even the awake functionality. I just want to know if the way that levels are supposed to be loaded is to, in fact, break them into smaller levels that you then stream in. I can totally see that being a thing, and I'm going to be sad if it is. All right, so let's go ahead and go over here to test. Go to scene loading. I'm going to call this scene load test start. Okay. Right here, let's go ahead and duplicate this. And we're going to call this scene load test bulk, which I probably should actually go ahead and do folder scenes create folder. We'll call this bulk create folder chunks. Okay, so this is going to go into bulk, which I'm just going to have more or less be a plane with a bunch of cubes in it. So let's go ahead and say 3D object with plane. We then reset its position, come down here. Let's go ahead and we'll scale this up by like 5. Make it pretty big. And then let's go ahead and just dump a bunch of cubes in here. Oh, wow. Oh, it's because it's scaled. I'm like, wow, that's super big. All right, let's go ahead and turn on ProGrids. Might as well do point 0.1 or point 0.5. Okay, let's go ahead and move all this fun stuff to here. We're just gonna kind of like duplicate this a bunch. This is gonna get pretty crazy because the entire point is to stress test this. Let's go ahead and duplicate all of that. Move that all the way down to there, which will then also include all of that. We'll move this all over by one, right about there. Cool. Let's go ahead and group all of that, which I would totally do if I could, but I can't very easily. Grab this. All right, let's go ahead and try and structure this a little bit. Close my profiler for now. We're going to call this level. We're going to put this below here. We're going to have this be called cubes. All right, we're going to put this in. This will be row 1. Let's go ahead and drag all of these things in. Hello, Palm Tree Llama. Welcome back. No, it's completely understandable. That'd be my reaction too. Let's go ahead and duplicate this. We're just going to oof. Hold on. Delete that. I'm gonna grab all of these guys, and I'm gonna set their z position to be 0. All right, so let's go ahead and duplicate this. Put that in. Duplicate that. Put that in. Duplicate this, and so on, and so on, and so on, and so on. I'm going to assume that that's probably good enough. Actually, we'll do rows. We'll do 10 rows. Okay, so let's go ahead and do this. This will be 1. Okay, and now we're going to duplicate this, which we will move up to there. That is super interesting seeing that in the game view, because it moves smoothly in the game view, but not in the editor view, which is amazing. We'll make 5 rows, so I'm assuming, I don't know how many this is, actually, it's going to be quite a bit. Okay, so we have 5 rows here. Each level has 10 rows, and each row has 32 cubes, so that's, what, 300, I'm sorry, 320 per level times 5, which is more math than I'm willing to do. Actually, that's something like, it's over 1,000. But let's go ahead and save this. This should, in theory, when loading, give us a similar lag spike, I would think. Just because, in all honesty, let me see if I can do stats here. Let's see, batches, 12, save by batching, blah, blah, blah. That's all good. 9 pascals. Where are my tries? So triangle count 40,000 is roughly analogous. It's probably actually way more than what a lot of my levels have. Admittedly, the batch call is a lot lower because they don't really have a bunch of different materials on them, but that's not terrible. So I'm going to see if loading into this scene will really cause a problem. If it does, then that's good. It means that we can try stream testing. If it doesn't, then it's not really going to be much of a useful test now, is it? What version of Unity do you use, Pro or Plus? I use neither. I use free. At work, I use Pro because we have Pro at work and we can afford it. And this particular version of Unity is, like Garrett noted, 2017.4.14. That is because I cannot update to 2018 because of Substance, and that sucks. I really wish I could. Also, I'm just flying around because I really like the look of these types of structures. They're always fun. Anyway, let's go ahead and... So this is our... Oh, dang it. Of course, that's the start scene that I did that in. So we're going to move these around. Call this start. Call this bulk. We're going to flip them. All right. So let's go ahead and go over to File, Build Settings. I got to add both of these things. So we'll have test load start, test load bulk. Doesn't matter of order. Let's go ahead and add a script. Create C# script. We'll just call this test load scene. With a frickin', of course it has a lowercase t. Why my keyboard does not detect my shift pressing on the first letter of things for some reason. It's always maddening. But yeah, I mean, there's no feature difference between Pro and Plus and Free. There is. There's one mostly small feature thing that people care about, which is the ability to hide the load screen, or not the load screen, the splash screen for Unity. String, target scene, serialized field. My keyboard is actually really nice. It's just that for some reason, I honestly I think that it's because of how I type. I do that a lot at work too, and those are two different keyboards. I think it's just because I happen to usually hit shift slightly after I hit the key, and then I immediately let off of shift, so it probably just doesn't register properly. But, all right, so that's good. Let's go ahead and come down here. We're going to say private. I'm going to come here and say using system.collections. We're going to make this an IEnumerator, start. And we're just going to say float. Delay is equal to, we'll say 3 seconds, and then we're just going to say float t is equal to. Actually, you know what? I can just be lazy here. Honestly, I'm just going to say while delay is greater than 0f. I'm going to say delay minus equal time dot delta time, then yield return null. All right. Now we're coming down here, and we're just going to say using Unity engine dot scene management. Then we're just going to come down here and say scene manager dot load scene async. And then we will say target scene. Okay. Let's see. It would send double clicks when I clicked or held down. Actually caused bugs in some FPS games. Were you just like firing rapid fire? Stretch. Okay, let's go ahead and just real quick, I'm going to go ahead and create a plane. I will. Okay, what are you doing? Oh, you're compiling. That's why. It's like, no, can't do anything. So. All right. Did I do this? I actually don't recall if I made that or not, because I think I made something like that similarly at work recently. Anyway, although I don't know why I would move it here. Let's position, yada yada yada. Let's go ahead and position you right about there. Oh, that's the light. That's not Let's go put you there. Put you like 2 things off the ground. That's pretty good. Let's go ahead and real quick jump back to scene load test bulk. Main camera is actually kind of fine there. Okay, so we should be able to load in and have everything work the way we would expect. So let's go ahead and do this. Scene load test bulk. That all works just fine. Let's hit start and let's see what happens when we load in. Profiler. Okay. Yeah, I would fire twice on a weapon that was in single fire mode. Again, we get 2 clicks faster than I could humanly click. That makes sense. Um, well, I mean, it loaded in and we got a spike, but I didn't get anything. I couldn't really tell. Oh, you know what? That's why. Duh. So this start scene obviously needs something for me to focus on. Otherwise, I won't know if it's frozen. So let's go ahead and just create a cube object. We'll position this, I don't know, like here-ish. Do I have a random rotation script? Object rotation, I think, is mine. Or not. Let's see, rotate around axis. Let's see. This is also not mine. I don't think I have one. We'll just do simple rotate, which I'm going to assume is like 20 and like 10. We'll just, you know, make that 50. There we go. Let's try that. That should get me a rotating object. Would a debug break super early in your code help? So let's see if this object freezes. It does not. So that's not useful. We also only have about a 50 millisecond thing, which is because of our preloading. Let's go ahead and I'm going to close that. I'm going to attach an awake function call. That's just a basic test there. Create C# script. It's going to be our like test awake. Whatever, I'll just call it that. Debug.break super early in your code help. I don't really know where I would put it necessarily because I mean, stepping through, I guess, might help, but I already know the frames that it happened on, or rather, I can assess I can guess what they are based on when the spikes are. But I'm not sure if I would be able to use debug.break specifically. I don't think it would let me do what I want. All right, so I'm just going to go ahead and say private void awake, and we're just going to have it. Well, shoot, I don't know what I want to have it do because I don't want to have it log something because that's a false expense. Maybe I can just do this. Private int temp is equal to 0. I'm just going to say temp plus equals, I don't know, random dot range from, not random range. Why is that even in there still? Random dot range from like 0 to 1000. So we'll have it do some basic function that's not really logging to the console, no strings, nothing immutable. We'll see if just having 1,000 awake calls does that. And if it still doesn't, then I seriously need to look into profiling my scene changes because it means that I have something horrendous going on there and I don't know why. Because I don't think I've done anything particularly expensive when I'm going from scene to scene. At least nothing I can think of that would be expensive. Huh. Okay, well, not a lot of help there. So, yeah, that's not really, I guess let's go ahead and turn on the profiler because I did close that out of habit. So, oh boy. That kind of makes me think that it's specifically me. And even more specifically, how I load games or how I load scenes. Yeah, even with awake functions, I'm only getting like, wow, I'm actually getting less of a consumption there. Yeah, about 50 milliseconds still. So it's not that. Why? No, no, timeout, timeout. I didn't actually attach the script. I feel stupid there. That was me being dumb. Oh god, this is gonna suck. All right, actually not quite as bad. All right, just assign that test awake function, which is gonna be fun. Well, it handled that actually pretty well. Credit is due, Unity. Okay, so that should actually be a little more useful. Let's go ahead and try that again. Let's clear this. Okay. Hmm. Nope. Still nothing. 51 milliseconds. That was it. So it could really be something that I'm doing that's terrible. Um, I mean, it's not that it could be that. It has to be that. So cool, cool, cool. Yeah. Great. I do not know what that would be. Um, so let's go ahead and go to stop playing. File build settings. Get rid of these two things. Save. Let's go ahead and go back to. Why did I go to the cabin? I meant to go to the planes. Um, I really don't know what would be best here. Um, because, I mean, in all honesty, the total amount of polygons in this scene is nothing. I really wish I could show it without having a camera in there, um, but like seriously, my geometry is nothing in this game. Like it's really hard for you to see it, but most of my stuff is pretty basic geometry. We're not really getting beyond hard-edged cubes here. We're not really doing any sort of beveling or anything like that. Um, Heck, the text in things like this label are possibly the most. No, even them, they're not. They're not anything that's intense. Like this is probably the most poly-intensive thing in the entire cabin. The freaking firewood, because everything else is very, very basic. You can see that it's like largely nothing. Um, this is how much it is. 172 triangles. That's nothing. The entire freaking cabin, I bet, if we looked at it, would be nothing for the most part. Yeah, like 600 triangles for the entire freaking wall. Our chimney is 200. 16 triangles for the roof. It's nothing. I really can't stress enough how tiny this whole thing is. It's so small. Like I just don't have a lot of triangles in this level. God, like some of these are straight up nothing. Um, so it's not a triangle problem. I can't even believe that it's really a material problem because, well, my materials aren't much of anything. Granted, they are using 1K textures, which might be a bit much. Um, but a lot of them are batched in such a way that it shouldn't really matter. I'm actually curious to make sure I'm not doing it. Yeah, like I use my space judiciously. I'm not I'm not just like arbitrarily terribly designing these things. Like I have some semblance of how I'm going to handle these. Like I try to batch. Oh shoot, that's a bad example actually. Um, yeah, but then again, actually, I'm pretty sure that this is the material for like the window frame and the boards. So like all of the window frames and all of the boards are should be on the same draw call because they're using the same material. Um, Granted, I could probably pack that a little bit better, but I think I had to separate that specifically for this stuff. Um, oh, that's right. I don't even need this anymore. I could probably actually get rid of that. So I don't know. I don't know why it would lag so much. Let's go ahead and turn off our lights so that we can see everything a little bit easier. I don't know why I wasn't doing that earlier when I was trying to show you all the triangles. Um, like there's nothing in this scene. It's nothing, and it has a lag spike, which I don't understand. So I'm gonna go ahead and do this. I'm gonna go back to shaded. I'm gonna go turn on my light again. I'm gonna go back to the park, or not the park, the plains, and I'm gonna go to the cabin, leave, go to the cabin again, leave, and we're just gonna see if I get spikes going back to the plains. If it's specific to the cabin, I'm pretty sure it's not because the castle does that occasionally. Um, if it is something specific to the cabin, I'd like to know what it is, but we will see. We do have to wait because that initial delay is there again. Which does mean that it is a static value, whatever it is. It's something that's static in some script. Um, but beyond that, I don't know. That doesn't really help me much. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and oh shoot, I closed my profile window again because I do that out of habit. Profiler. All right, let's try this again. Yeah, I mean, in terms of triangles, I think the most intense level that I have is maybe 30,000. And that might actually be the sewer because of all of its curvature. Well, I guess later parts of the game have more, but 30,000 polygons is not a lot for a level. I was going to say poke, open. All right, keeping an eye on the profiler. We got our lag spike there. We got our secondary and third lag spike. Interesting. So we have three now. We have this one, which I think was the initial setup, but this must be the actual level loading. So like 200 milliseconds to load in is insane. Lock persistent manager? Interesting. I don't know what that is. I'm assuming that it has to do with objects that aren't destroyed on load, maybe? I'm looking this up on Google real quick. So loading.lock persistent manager. So this is what it is, and this is what I'm looking at. Let's see. Oh. Oh, jeez. Really? That can't be right. That's gross if that's the case. So spikes happen because it's basically something else is doing an async operation? Huh. That seems it seems weird. Why would they handle it like that? Because, for example, this So lock persistent manager, that is the thing that's causing my problem. Um, so yep, right there. Um, huh. A resources.load a sync call. Huh? Okay. Well, let's see if I'm doing anything with that. So let's go ahead and I guess we'll just do that right here real quick. Load a sync. Find all references. Okay, so it's not that. Let's see if this. Wow, really? Nothing? Okay, so I'm not. I mean, that makes some amount of sense. Except, actually, I know. Hold on. It's resources.load because I do know I do that. Okay, so CR animation, that is all Kurante. So we don't need to worry about that because that's not our stuff. Cinemachine post processing. I'm assuming that's the editor, so yeah, that's nothing. Um, we do this, but this should only happen once. And by the time that our scene transition happens, this should not be a thing because it'll already have happened. That actually does kind of make sense that maybe that might be the case. That might be what's causing the problem for our initial load in. Maybe no, that doesn't make sense because it would happen every time. Then never mind. Um, let's see. Options. Oh, I was like, oh god, why is it doing this? Okay, so that's nothing. So TextMesh Pro does some of that. That's nothing too bad. Settings. This is not me, I'm pretty sure. Is that Fmod? Ah, that's something else. Some HX volumetric stuff. Maybe not a lot of use there. I'm gonna try transitioning back because I didn't do that. I'm gonna see if we still have. Oh, did I save my text? I did not. So cool. So I can just keep going. Let's try leaving again. And let's see. So we did get a spike, but nowhere near. Well, 170 milliseconds, which makes me think that something else is making it worse. Um, assuming it's going to go all the way back down. I should probably show this on stream so you don't just hear me talking and don't see anything. Um, huh. Merge prefabs. That's interesting. So you can see that we still have like 179 milliseconds. Maybe that back. Play again. All right. So this time we did get a lag spike, but I didn't notice it. We didn't get a lag spike then. I mean, we had more processing time taken up, but I didn't notice it. It did not just lag horribly. Okay.
So I'm not really sure what that is. That implies that whatever it is something that happens the first time we do a level transition, which is weird. Um, I'm going to try going to the canyon, I guess, and see if we get that problem again. Question mark. Because I want to make sure that it's not either it is or is not specific to the cabin. Still checking along. Perfect 60 frames. Oh, what are you? We had a terribly huge lag spike all of a sudden. Um, well, okay, whatever. Might just be for one frame. So, okay. So, we're getting our lag. Yeah, I mean that's definitely what this is. This is our lag spike. Oh man, that's fun. So we have this 1200 milliseconds. What? Okay. Editor of the excuse me. That's curious. Then I'm assuming that's not something I need to worry about. But an 800 millisecond time definitely is. Generate muscle clip? What? What is generate muscle clip? Well, whatever that is, that's eating up my time. And then. Huh. Okay. Huh. I am not really sure what some of these issues are. Like specifically what some of these profile readouts are. Um, I really also wish that I could like scale the profiler so I could see it better, but I can't. I'm kind of locked into this. It'd be nice to be able to like. Actually, can I do that? I thought I could at one point. Maybe I can't. Nope. That's disappointing. I was hoping I could just like move this up and down to get a better sense of scale on some of these things, but all right. Yeah. So our worst thing seems to be 300 here, but then we have 800, 1200, and then like 300 milliseconds. None of which is great, obviously. Well, I might have to do more research on this, just because there's really not much going on when a scene is loaded. Like there's not a lot of start behaviors. Granted, there are some, but there's not a lot, especially on each level. And the fact that this happens um, seemingly only to the first transition. Let's go ahead and test that, I guess. Go back. Again, we're going to keep an eye on this, see if we get any lag. No, it's done already. I didn't even. It's nothing. Um, wait. Could it be? Let's find out. Let's see here. It might be. No. No appreciable lag spike here. Well, there was a lag, a little bit of a spike, but it didn't freeze it again. So interesting. So we're done. Okay. Well, I honestly don't know. I was kind of theorizing that it might have had to do with the substance lists that I had, because those are assets, not lists on components. Um, and maybe loading all of those into memory at once might cause it. But the fact that the cabin didn't cause problems after loading into it makes me think that that's not the case. Jeez. Although I was gonna say hilariously, but not really hilariously. Like my garbage generation is just going sawtooth on me for some reason, which is not great. Um, huh. Oh God, that's a really good one. That is a really good one, cache override. Oh, I'm sad that I do not have that talent. That was amazing. Yes, yes, we can, and in fact, we should. Okay. Huh. So I really don't know. I might I might just have to do more research on this to see what I can find. Um, because I'm willing to bet it's something small and stupid, because it's always something small and stupid that I've done that causes these types of issues. So it's just going to be a very painful process to find, which sucks. But I think we'll call it that, or call it there for the night. Um, at least we get to go out on a high note with a very, 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 very good play on words from Cash Override. Congratulations, that's one of the best ones I've heard. Um, but I mean, we did get some performance, taken care of. We have identified some potential problems. Um, it's just, I wish I could identify what's causing our lag spike a little bit easier, because the things that seem like the most intensive aren't things that I can directly address, which makes me think that they are things that I have to indirectly address by just changing my loading process, basically. Um, which is entirely possible. Maybe that just means that I should, instead of loading my substances right away, maybe I should have them load for like 2 frame, or have a 2 frame delay on them or something. I don't know. It could be anything like that. So I'll experiment with that. Yeah, HX, the lighting just updated today. That's why I was like, I wonder if they've updated. It's like, oh, look at that, brand new. Um, so yeah, so we're gonna call it there for a night, or for the night. And I get to go bang my head against the keyboard to try and make this not as terrible. So yeah, um, there is actually something I also wish that I could do better is scrub, because I can't like scrub past this, and there's no way for me to like move up here. I can like go frame by frame backwards, but that's such a terrible process. So I don't know. So I'm gonna try to figure out what I can do to optimize this, because my levels are so small that they should not cause even a blip. And the behaviors in here are not doing anything in update for the most part. Like there are very few behaviors that actually do anything in update. Most of them are just kind of sitting there. So I don't know. So that's a pretty good place to stop for the day. So as always, I want to thank you all very much for watching, and I will see you all next time.